Let me just say how hard it is to believe that this is kind of like our official saying goodbye Sunday, even though next Sunday is really our last Sunday. But that's also Confirmation Sunday. And we wanted the focus to be on the confirmands and on their families. So if you'll just give me a second here, because I want to tell you both as our current congregation and as one of many congregations that we have served, that you mean so much to us. And we've actually, Jason has actually been on staff of 13 congregations. And one of those was when he was a youth director, one when he was a choir director, once when he was an associate pastor, and then, of course, as the senior or solo pastor. But here's what I want you to hear most deeply from my heart, all of you. Well done, good and faithful servants, because that's who I see you as. I'll never be able to tell you what an honor and a joy it has been for us to serve alongside you at Grace. You have given so much to Jason and me during our short time here, and I'd really like to tell you some of my favorite things about you. Number one, you love. You offer kindness and friendship, and you're open to newcomers. And as a military kid and the wife of an itinerant minister, I know what it is like to be new, to feel like I'm on the outside of something looking in. But y'all just move those labels aside and say, welcome. We're glad you're here. We have a place for you. You make a point to be friendly. You make a point to reach out to folks on the edges. And believe me, those people feel those edges very keenly, and they see the efforts that you make to include them. Please keep on doing that. Number two, you love lots of people and lots of pastors. And I've heard you speak about some of your favorite memories of previous pastors, and I love that about you. But you recognize that you can love new people, and it doesn't diminish or betray the love that you have for others. This is huge. This is really huge, because everybody struggles to say goodbye to dear friends and pastors that they've loved before. But you realize that your love for them isn't diminished or betrayed when you share it with others, when you extend it to the new people before you, because you know that you can love more than one pastor and his or her family, and everyone is blessed. Thank you for that from the bottom of my heart. 3, you have a unified identity. We're Grace is what you say, and you mean we're Grace United Methodist Church, serving in many different places and in many different ways. And you know that within our walls are many groups with varied interests and activities. But you also know and you prioritize our one goal, our one identity, first of all, and that is to be a place to connect with God, to each other, and to the world that God calls us to serve as we represent Grace United Methodist Church. And honestly, after almost 40 years in ministry, I think this may be your greatest strength. And I applaud you for it because it's unusual. It doesn't just happen. It's because you are intentional and you make an effort for it to be so. Very, very good job. Back in the early 80s when Jason was in seminary, I had the chance to participate in a support group for wives of seminarians. One year I was on the leadership team, and the president gave each one of us a small token to remember our time together. It was this counted cross-stitch ornament that has a communion chalice and paten and the words, "My life poured out." This reference comes from the book of Philippians from chapter 2, when Paul says, "Then you will shine among them like stars in the sky as you hold firmly to the word of life. And then I will be able to boast on the day of Christ that I did not run or labor in vain. But even if I am being poured out like a drink offering on the sacrifice and service coming from your faith, I am glad and I rejoice with all of you." And I am glad and I rejoice that you are shining like stars as you live out your faith in this wonderful community called Grace, that you are partnering with each other and with your new leaders like Mark and Margot Porterfield to make a difference. Because you have made a difference in my life. When we were in seminary so many years ago, we really didn't know how it would all play out. We didn't know how his ministry would unfold, all the ups and downs that we would face and the pouring out of our lives. And to be honest, there were times when I felt very poured out and very dry. But what I never dreamed is that I would come to the end of our time here feeling so very full. Thank you for that.